Some of you guys probably already know, but DJI just released a new drone, the DJI Mavic Air 2S, and I am not gonna buy that just yet. I already have the Mavic Air 2, so let me give you a couple reasons. And also enjoy this quick little B-roll sequence I did by flying my drone in my room because, yeah, check it out. Fly, baby girl. By the way, guys, I have to say this is not a knock on DJI for coming out with new products at all. I love DJI. These are just my thoughts when it comes to buying new and improved gear, especially when you have older models. And by the way, if you haven't already, definitely like and subscribe. We do cool filmmaking, creative filmmaking, and a little bit of dancing, you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, definitely consider subscribing because I'd love to have you. Anyways, back to the video. So for starters, let me just say this up front. The DJI Mavic Air 2S versus its older models completely outclasses them. And especially on paper, it has 5.4K footage up to 30 FPS. It has 10-bit color dynamic range, and it has this one crazy function where I believe it's called Master Shot, and it just takes a couple of your typical awesome cinematic drone shots all in a row for you, and all you have to do is click a button. And so yeah, that's pretty freaking awesome. But the thing is, do you really need all of these features, especially as someone potentially getting into drones, especially for someone who's more of just like run and gun filmmaking and things of that nature? So that's gonna be my thoughts coming up about those particular aspects and perspectives of it all. So I'll be the first to say that I am a strong believer in the fact that you should get a drone, you should get a gimbal, especially as a part of your building kit, just because it helps the quality of your video so much and it just gives you so much dynamic in what you can create. But as I said before, the Air 2S does shoot in 5.4K, but that's not really the standard of video quality nowadays. It's still 4K. 4K is still more than enough. So is it worth paying those extra couple hundred just to get that extra 5.4K? Yes, if you do have it. I think you have the extra money to do that. Hell yeah, I would do it if I could. But in terms of actually looking at things realistically, it's not necessary, and you still get amazing footage out of any other drone in that line. And for me, especially since I have the Mavic Air 2, you know I've been getting those crazy nice drone shots. And another thing is that this drone, the new one, the Air 2S versus like the Air 2, comes with 10-bit color dynamic range. The Air 2 has 8-bit color dynamic range. Now that might not sound like a lot, but 10-bit is exponentially more color dynamic range than 8-bit, especially if you get into the nitty-gritty of it all, which I'm not gonna do in this video, and that's freaking awesome. But the thing is, if you're learning, and especially like me, as you kind of build your skills, you're kind of learning your color grading, there's kind of no point to having that 10-bit color dynamic range because you're not able to capitalize that on editing. Your color grading is probably not as good as it can be to optimize that kind of powerful dynamic range. So that's why I personally am kind of shying away from the Air 2S2. The Mavic Air 2S to what? The Mavic Air 2S? The Mavic Air 2 the Mavic Air 2S is because I don't have the skill just yet, I think, to maximize paying those extra dollars forward to get that beautiful, beautiful color dynamic range. By the way, as you just saw me mess up the name like 14 times, these drones are starting to come out like iPhones. We got the Mavic Air, the Mavic Air 2, the Mavic Air 2S. What they gonna come out with next? The Mavic Air 2S Pro, you know what I'm saying? I just realized that my nose looks way bigger in the camera when I'm close up, and my friends already make fun of it when we're outside just hanging in real life, but to see it now, you do beep. Now for filmmakers looking to expand their kit, or if you're just new to drones in general, there's like this function on the Air 2S where basically, called Master Shots I believe, where basically it just captures a bunch of typical cinematic drone shots for you in a row, and you can just string them together or take them apart or whatever you want to do. And that sounds so awesome. I think that's freaking awesome because that one boosts your, it boosts your, what the hell is wrong with me today? One, it boosts your efficiency like right off the bat. Like you don't have to do any of that manually. You can just kind of do it. But I do think there's kind of like a downside to that, in the sense that if you're new to drones or whatnot, you can just kind of end up, you know, relying on that function versus actually learning how to use the drone yourself and optimize your creativity when it comes to aerial footage. I know because my Mavic Air 2 does not have that particular option. It does have a couple of intelligent flight modes. I actually still don't rely on that too much because I want to find my own ways to creatively maneuver this drone and get my own personalized, stylized aerial movement. You know what I'm saying? And you definitely want to consider a drone an investment, not an expense. One, because drones are freaking awesome and they're super fun. But two, because they do cost a lot, and depending on what you're going to do with them, they can easily become a liability instead of an investment. So if you're like me, by the way, which I tend to do a lot of, you know, crazy things, aka flying it really close to the water, 3 miles out or something, or, you know, attaching my iPhone 12 Pro to my drone, and all these stupid things. You want to realize that you're probably gonna be potentially paying a lot for repairs, like myself, or you're just gonna lose $1,000+ altogether. So keep that in mind, because the Mavic Air 2S does cost, we're talking about the Fly More combo packages of both the Air 2 and the Air 2S. The Air 2S Fly More package combo does cost $1,300, and the Fly More package combo of the Mavic Air 2 is $1,000. And honestly, in the bigger scales of things, that's not too much of a difference. But if you're like me, someone in student debt, that can make a difference and can use that extra $300 for something a bit more useful to you now. And by the way, if you're like me, like I said, and not probably gonna end up buying this right now, by the time I do learn how to color grade, by the time I do learn how to use my drone a lot more effectively, the Air 3 or the Air 3S is probably gonna be out, and that's what I would invest in then, versus having to go through the steps of going Air 2, Air 2S, Air 2S Pro, Mavic Air 3, Mavic 3 whatever, etc, etc. You know what I'm saying? I think I've already said you know what I'm saying, and I hopefully think that you do well. I hope you know what I'm saying. So who is, or what kind of videographers slash filmmakers is the Mavic Air 2S for? Well, according to my analytical decisions and capabilities, I believe that the Mavic Air 2S is for one, those who can actually just afford it right off the bat with no, you know, thought in mind, or two, for those who are more experienced, who have worked with more aerial drone footage right off the bat and really know how to color grade. So basically a more experienced filmmaker, if you will. But don't get me wrong, everyone else who doesn't really fit that category just yet, like myself, you could definitely, and I would say 100%, please do invest in the Mavic Air 2, because you still get amazing 4K footage at 60 frames per second. You have a couple of awesome intelligent flight modes. In fact, I think it's just, you just get the necessary ones, which is all you technically need, and it'll fill all your needs. If you don't believe me, check out my DroneWorks playlist. I'll leave it like out here, and you can see the DJI Mavic Air 2 for yourself. Now, just to reiterate, I am not saying don't buy the Mavic Air 2S. What I am saying is think about your investment in drones, and you should definitely invest in a drone, whatever that is for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good YouTube stuff. It helps me as a small YouTuber trying to grow, and more than any of that, I just love to have you. And by the way, we do cool dance things, you know what I'm saying? So, see you next time.